All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Wow. And good afternoon, everyone. And good evening, all. Whenever, however you take our show in, it's so cool to have you here with us. We're closing in on 1 year in this amazing experiment that we have been pursuing for...
What?
Yeah, I know. It's incredible. I don't know if I would have bet against us, but it was pretty even money kind of proposition for a while. But... we are completely here because of you. So, or we're here completely because of you, might be a better way to put it. But we are here completely as well. What?
What?
Okay, Kim is with us. One of the 14 shows that Kim does. It's great to be considered in the mix there. And
Kim, how are you?
Also, Albert is here, the commissioner.
Albert, thank you.
Yeah, he is here. He's worked us into his main gig. Today is a terrific show, and I really mean it. Big doings in Washington, as you know, unprecedented doings in Washington with the tossing of McCarthy and the speakership.
There's never been anything like
being
this.
Vacant, essentially. There's a temporary speaker. But John Rothman will comment on what's happening in Congress and the Kevin McCarthy saga. I mean, Kevin McCarthy, a spineless, self-absorbed a-hole. I'm quite happy to see him, his history in the House. John can perhaps remark on if we want to spend too much time on it. I don't know that we do. But his history in the House is marked, I think, certainly most recently, by his own self-interest, right? He was just making a number of chess moves that he felt would get him the speakership. He made this Faustian agreement with the extreme of his party to, essentially, he gave up all principles some time ago, gave up all principles around January 6th, et cetera. Anyway, he's done. In a sense, getting what he deserved. But we're left with a Congress that is still populated by those who are in control from the extreme of the GOP. And John Rothman can comment on the fact that Pelosi, lover, hater, or both lover and hater, or however you come down on Nancy Pelosi, when it came down to actually herding those cats and running that coalition, she did it. The GOP, they are just not in the governing way. They just aren't. And so you end up with averting one shutdown, likely seeing another shutdown. I don't know how you'll avert the next shutdown. McCarthy, of course, made a deal with Biden that we wouldn't even be dealing with any more of these shutdowns. Remember? He emerged from that deal, and he got so much blowback from that group that I'm talking about that he essentially tore up the imaginary agreement that he had with Biden. And I say imaginary, meaning I don't know that if it's literally something you could tear up or not. But now we're looking at government shutdowns again. Let me just get my credibility glasses on. I don't know how we'll let John talk more about this. I'll shut up. Let's be honest. McCarthy was ruining the country. Mm-hmm. He wasn't the best speaker or the best person. I'm glad his A is out. Yeah. Well, there it is. I mean, it's
Sayonara, sucker.
Yeah. He is done.
Good day, sir.
He is done. And his humiliation was sweet. But it does leave us in a situation with a slim majority in Congress able to shut the government down, the GOP. Lori from above the bar. We haven't heard from her in a while.
Lori, love you.
This is from Daniel D. He loves you guys very much, and I'm lucky to know him. Wow. Daniel D. and Lori, she lives with her husband above the Red Jack Saloon in San Francisco. And if you've not been there, it's a great place to take in a Niners game or take in any sporting event. If you're just joining us on this show, I will tell you we are a show that came from a radio station in San Francisco. And we moved the radio show to YouTube. So this has a kind of hybrid quality. So we mention a lot of stuff in San Francisco, Bay Area. We tell you the ugly truths about the Bay Area and San Francisco, as well as the great things about San Francisco. And one of the great things is the Red Jack Saloon.
Yeah.
And Lori is so cool. Thank you for a 25 spot. Are you kidding?
Big shout out.
Yeah, on our 1-year anniversary. I'll take it as a crowd-funded show. And Kelly Malloy, another
Big shout out.
regular. Happy year anniversary from Kelly. You know, we're going to do a meetup next week, and I'll have details on it tomorrow.
Okay.
I think it's going to be Thursday, a virtual meetup. So I'll let you know about that probably tomorrow, and it'll be for the following Thursday night. So those who are thinking you may want to be part of it, it's always a lot of fun. We'll do a 2-hour chunk, and there'll be a lot of people you know there, people from the show, of course. And it's our 1-year anniversary virtual meetup. And if you want to be part of it, I'll tell you about how to be part of it. I'll tell you more tomorrow. We have received, Albert, did you get the stuff? We've received 1-year anniversary messages. And I wonder, you want to play one? Then I'll get into more serious stuff. I kind of started with McCarthy, and I've got a law and disorder, and before you do that, law and disorder, I've got I believe I have Televangelist theater, and in the second hour after Rothman will be in the first hour. Second hour, I've got a great guest for you. Matt Stoller's his name, and if you don't know him, you're going to love him after the information that he shares with us in the second hour. Matt does reporting on big business and monopolies, and the FTC, for the first time, this government in some time, is going after the monopolization of America. Now, you can say that horse is out of the barn. I'd kind of say that. But when you turn to actually try to hold Amazon to account and Google to account, that's what's happening now. You have a chance at a regulatory advantage over a company like Amazon or Google. Incredible. Well, Matt's watching that stuff all the time, and his Substack is terrific. I read it regularly. I'm a paid subscriber, and he'll join us in the second hour. Isn't that right, Kim? You've been dealing with his people.
Yeah. Yeah.
He has people, right?
He has people.
Yeah.
And it will be right after noon is where we'll get to that.
Okay, good. So
But
that's
I
noon
do-
Pacific, so that's the second
We
hour.
have a major announcement. Yeah.
Wait a minute, we do?
Yeah.
Well, hold on a second. We have a major announcement. I don't know what it is, but all right.
A major announcement
Okay.
from the Mark Thompson Show.
All right.
A major announcement.
This is extraordinary. Wow. Are you kidding? That is Sharon Kidd for $100. Come on.
Yeah.
We are crowdfunded, and when I get a big
Shout out.
donation like that, it really it helps ensure that we'll be here next month.
Yeah.
It almost brings me to tears.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
I'm not gonna cry, but I'm just saying
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
I'm not gonna. But Sharon, who is with us now and was with us at the beginning and has
Yeah.
always been generous, if anybody could make me cry,
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
$100. Sharon, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Really does make a huge difference. And thank you for the happy anniversary to the MT show. What a great year. Hoping for many more, says Gail Guthrie, another Hall of Famer. And a big shout out.
Big shout out.
Thank you for the 20, Gail. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the best wishes on our anniversary, too. We do have In addition to all of you who've been so very generous, we do have messages about our 1-year anniversary. Albert, do you want to share now?
The
what do you
Mark
have,
Thompson Show. 1 year.
Start at the beginning. Can we not start these videos at the beginning? What's happening, Albert?
Why are you yelling?
All right.
The Mark Thompson Show. 1 year. Well, couldn't happen in a better time of the year. KGO in exile. Excellent. Have fun, you guys. Be kind to one another.
That's Ricky, everybody. Come on. I love my Ricky. Really, really cool that he took a minute to do that. That's how easy it is. If you want to send us a message, a video message, or an audio message, you can do it. You'll send it to Happy Anniversary MTS at gmail.com. Happy Anniversary MTS at gmail.com. We set up a separate email address just because it's easier then to, organize everything. We can send our 1-year anniversary greeting, short video or audio, less than 30 seconds to that address, Happy Anniversary MTS at gmail.com. What's that, Kim?
I have one from a person who's here every day but didn't want to go on camera or use their voice. So they've written us a letter and sent a picture. Can I do it
That's
now?
great.
Is that okay?
Yeah, please. Absolutely.
Here's the picture. This is every morning with you, and on this particular day, David K. Johnston. You're on the big screen in the house.
That was yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the letter goes like this. Hi, Mark, Kim, Albert, and Tony. Happy 1-year anniversary, you guys.
I've received a lot of positive letters.
Okay. Yeah.
I have stage fright, so I'm going to skip the whole video making process, but I still want to share my sentiments. I started listening to the Mark Thompson Show during the KGO days and would occasionally send a text or email to participate. It was always a joy to get my text or email read on the air. I was sad to hear about the fall of KGO, but I'm very happy that the YouTube show is an even bigger success. I love tuning in to participate in the chats, and I love chatting with my MTS regulars. Attached is a picture of me with Mark and David. This is my normal routine, relaxing on the sofa and yelling at Mark. Congratulations on all of your success, with many more to come. This is Les Commentaires.
Oh,
is in
this
the
is
chat,
commentaire. Yeah.
otherwise
lovely.
known as Lily, and there she is. Yeah,
Lily, thank you.
Yeah.
I love seeing your stuff in the chat. Like commentary is very good, and there she is.
and what a great picture. So that
Yeah. Very, very cool. Like commentaire. I love it. Thank you so much for taking a moment to both click a pic and also to send us a greeting. I got a greeting from Trevor.
Oh, that's nice.
Trevor in Concord, a happy anniversary, a shout out greeting. And it has music. Oh, let me just see what he said, though. Here's what he says. Let me just do this. I'll get it like this, and I'll share it with everybody. Trevor in Concord is now Trevor in Hollywood. What is that?
This is the.
Oh, that's the, yeah.
This is it.
Yeah, I don't need to hear
Yeah.
it, Kim. Thank you.
This is history right now. No,
That's great.
No, yeah,
yeah, that they're testing, the government's testing
yeah.
an alert.
We knew it would happen right in the middle of the Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah,
There's
it's right
never
on
been
time.
anything
They
like
said it-
this.
Yeah, 20 after. So
They do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
Casey gets it. I mean, they don't really have any respect or regard for a show that has some sanctity to it.
What the hell is going on in the
Yeah,
United
exactly.
States of
Thank
America?
You all get it.
Did you really just do that?
All right. So, meantime, Trevor writes, he's really writing to Albert or Tony. Sorry, but this went to me.
Thanks, Tony.
Oh, he's saying that there's music on here, but it is copyright free and royalty free. That's great, because if you use music, that's how we get demonetized.
Yeah.
So he says this to Albert and Tony. You both do a great job and really add something to the show. I don't know how you can say that, Trevor. I mean, you don't really know Tony and Albert
Thanks, Tony.
well enough to.
Albert, thank you.
I'm not saying they don't do a good job. And Albert gives you the applause. All right. Yes, Tony, I mentioned you in the last salutation, ding word, but you really shouldn't read anything into that. Trevor's a great contributor to the show. Let's see what he said. This is a one-year anniversary audio message from Trevor Starr in Hollywood.
Hi, I'm Trevor Starr in Hollywood. I'd like to wish Mark Thompson and the whole cast and crew a very happy anniversary. Congratulations on 10 incredible years of The Mark Thompson Show.
Actually, it's one.
What's that?
It's the 1 year anniversary.
1 year. Really?
Yeah, 1 year.
Well, Mark, you managed to make it through an entire year. That's fantastic. Yeah, I think that's good enough, wouldn't you say?
That's very funny, buddy. Yeah. That's very, very funny. I love it. We'll run it again. I love it. We'll run it again during the next week as we continue to celebrate our 1 year anniversary. That's brilliant. That's Trevor. I also got another audio thing. Albert, maybe you can put up, I don't know if we need to put up a slide or anything. This is, how long is this? It runs about 45 seconds. Can we do this, Albert, or not?
Yeah, we could get to it. Yep.
Okay. Here is another anniversary greeting, an audio greeting. That was really great, Trevor. Here's, this is, I think it's music. I believe it's composed music that they did. There it is. All right.
It was 1 year ago that KGO went down, all because decisions made by some corporate clowns. Out of the ashes rose a whole new concept. The Mark Thompson Show became the best thing yet, with Kim, Albert, Tony, and a little bit of John Daly. Along with great guests, they make some sweet company. Congratulations on 1 year, let's hope there's many more. Now with the power vested in me by absolutely no one.
Receive the rod of equity and mercy.
Oh, I love it. By Excellent. The power invested in me by absolutely no one is my favorite lyric. That's really great. Now that was from who? Now, this is where we really screw up on this show. Are you kidding me, guys? Seriously?
Oh,
I mean, really?
Seriously, what the?
You can't tell me who did that?
That was really cute and
They
really
do
good.
this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
God, I just got it here. It says audio, and Tony's not here. Hang on 1 second. We'll figure this out.
That was from George.
George, thank you. Sorry for the delay on the credit. Very nice, George. Yeah. Happy anniversary jingle. Thank you. That was really, really cool, man.
Really
that was
cute.
a lot of fun. So thank you, George, for that. And anybody else who wants to...
A bit pop singerish, I thought.
Albert, how dare you run a Simon drop after George...
My bad. I'm sorry.
It was really, really cool. And we've received a lot of other messages, too. And if you'd like to send one, you know how to do it. Happy anniversary. Love this show, says Jan for 20. Thank you, Jan. And a big shout out.
Big shout out.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Happy anniversary. So glad the show is still going. Love to you and the gang from Vivian Alshawa.
Big shout out.
Nice.
Vivian, who joined us, I believe, on our last virtual meetup as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, the next virtual meetup will be Thursday, I believe, Thursday night. Congrats anniversary on Free Taco Day from Spencer Jaffe.
Big shout out.
Thank you, Spencer Jaffe. You're, again, always with us. We so appreciate that. All right, let me, this has really been fun to get into all of these different messages, but we should, I wanted to get into a couple of things. And happy anniversary. Love this show. Jan Carpenter with the 20. Boy, Jan has been active today. Thank you, Jan Carpenter. Big shout out for the 20. Thank you so much. Or thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We'll get to McCarthy. We'll get to Pelosi. The one, like, just, you realize how petty all this crap is. The one petty thing that went when you take away the jetliner view of everything going on in government in the U.S. and how it affects even geopolitics. I'm sure John will touch on that. But the idea that they could yank Nancy Pelosi's hideaway office there at the Capitol, they have these little offices which are really used by legislators, and John can comment on this. I'm just mentioning it because it kind of falls into the petty category. So Nancy Pelosi is at the Feinstein funeral, okay? She's on the West Coast. So during the time she's away, they send this to her immediately after this vote. The temporary House Speaker, Patrick McHenry, writes, "Please vacate the space tomorrow. The room will be rekeyed."
He got 24 hours notice?
For someone who you know is away at a funeral.
Right.
There is no bottom to these people. And I believe if you look at who Patrick McHenry is, he is... Google Patrick McHenry for me. I believe he's the guy? He's from Louisiana?
He's from North Carolina, I think.
North Carolina, okay.
He's McCarthy's buddy. He's the one that helped negotiate McCarthy into that speakership.
Okay.
And I guess the way it works is when you're Speaker of the House, you have to make a list of people that in an emergency will succeed you, right? And so this guy, Patrick McHenry, becomes the first person on the list created by McCarthy. So in essence, McCarthy kind of handpicked the acting House Speaker now is what we have.
He seems unlikely to take on the role permanently. He did not run for a leadership role last year. He leads the Financial Services Committee instead. But as Kim says, the list of people who might replace McCarthy, we'll get that from John, and we'll just talk about that more. But I just thought yanking Pelosi's office, like sort of in the dark of night, if you will, when you know she's not around, and, doing it, as Kim says, on 24 hours, you got 24 hours to get your stuff out. Come on, man. I mean,
and
really.
We're changing the locks. Really?
It's just so brutal.
Wow.
Yeah. Do I have time, Albert? I've got a few things. I don't even know. I've got a huge story in Law and Disorder. I've got a big story in an evangelical theater. I feel like we haven't done evangelical theater for a while. Let me just see where's my...
Yeah, we can do the Televangelist theater.
Televangelist theater, that's what I am. Thank you.
Yeah, we can get to that, and then we'll just go to Kim's News.
I don't know my own franchises.
They do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it
You
for.
invented the franchise. You can't even remember the name of it. Okay, so we should do Televangelist theater, you're saying, and then Kim's News, and then Rothman. Is that what you want to do?
Exactly. Yep.
Usually I'm the one who can't remember the name of it. But
I
hey.
know, exactly. You're rubbing off on me. All right. How about it?
It's been a year after all.
Televangelist theater.
This is Televangelist Theater.
This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
Here's your host, Mark Thompson.
This is out of Baltimore, but it may feel very familiar to you. The Archdiocese of Baltimore declares what? The thing that will halt lawsuits against parishes, schools, and charities around sexual misconduct. They declared bankruptcy, everybody. Exactly. A federal judge has granted a request from the Archdiocese of Baltimore to temporarily stop all lawsuits against Catholic schools, charities, and parishes on archdiocese insurance plans. The U.S. bankruptcy judge, Michelle Harner, ordered yesterday the stop to all state court cases that could bring judgments against the church insurance. The Archdiocese of Baltimore, the oldest Catholic diocese in the U.S., filed for bankruptcy Friday, 2 days before a new state law was expected to bring a flood of lawsuits against the church for clergy sex abuse. So they were staring down the barrel of all of these lawsuits from all of these families and from all of these people who were abused sexually by clergy, and the move they made, bankruptcy. That protects the church. It's yet another example of the church evading responsibility. That's Televangelist Theater.
This has been Televangelist Theater.
Yeah, it makes your blood boil, doesn't it? It really does. But
The Mark Thompson Show.
By the way, Joe Ferrulo, who is the editor-in-chief of a Catholic, I want to call it newsletter. It's really like a newspaper. It's like the Chronicle, San Francisco Chronicle or LA Times for the Catholic world, okay? He is going to join us. In fact, did I ask you about this, Kim? Did we try to? I thought it was going to be this week. Okay, so.
I haven't talked to Ferrulo, but I can.
Yeah, I'll put, we'll do it early next week then. He said he could do it late this week, but he'll comment on this. You know, he speaks and writes very frankly, very honestly, and very smartly about so much that's going on in the Catholic Church. And so, you know, the reason we mention this is because it's a powerful institution that affects a lot of people. It's a political institution, in addition to the spiritual or whatever else. So that is something that we'll get into with him. I guess it'll be next week. So smash the like button while you're here. There is no reason not to.
Smash
it's free.
it with your iron rod.
If you're watching or if you're listening or you're even watching in replay, I thank you. In fact, I want to quickly, and then I'll get to Kim's news, acknowledge a couple of people. First of all, Cindy, who is a new Patreon subscriber.
Thank you, Cindy.
Maybe you can put up the website for clicking through to Patreon or PayPal. That's a great way to support us on an ongoing basis. And thank you,
Big shout
Cindy.
out.
Big shout out, new subscriber on Patreon. And I also got a word of nice donations in the on YouTube. I've got a $25 super thanks from Victoria D. How about that? Big shout out just yesterday.
Thank you.
Yeah, it really does matter. So that's super cool. $25 on a when you click the it's the heart with a dollar sign. If you're watching in replay, you can leave a little something, and people do. So thank you for that. And I also had another Patreon subscriber that I wanted to thank, and then I will be quiet and let Kim do her news. But I believe a new Patreon subscriber is... Of course, it's not here for me to see. All right, it's not important. I'll organize it for next hour. But I thank you, everybody who has joined on Patreon, joined on PayPal, upped your contribution as we kind of round turn one at the end of the first year. You all have really made a difference. So thank you very much for your ongoing support. There is Rod Jameson for a quick 20. Come on, Rod.
Big shout out.
Big shout out, Rod. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Really, really cool. So
Thank you.
yes, thank you. I think they're deserving. I think everyone is deserving of the 4 thank yous.
Thank you.
All right, Kim's news and Rothman. As we continue, we'll go through everything going on with the GOP, the House, and more. So, Mark Thompson.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by the lovely, lovely people at Tenuta Vineyards in Livermore. Yeah, home of the Mark Thompson Why Are You Yelling Red? That's right.
Why are you yelling?
We'll get to the news now because we've got some things going on. Big old strike. Kaiser, they're working on it. Yep, it's year of the U.S. strikes, they say, growing. 75,000 Kaiser Permanente workers walked off the job today in multiple states, including California, in what they say is gearing up to be the largest healthcare strike in the United States history. Meanwhile, the United Auto Workers strike is now in its 20th day, and the Hollywood actor strike is in its 3rd month. The removal of House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has several lawmakers now all jockeying for position, trying to take his place. Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan and House Majority Leader Steve Scalise of Louisiana both launching their bids today. Former President Trump was asked about assuming the role, but said, "My total focus is on becoming president."
Steve Scalise is who I was thinking of. He's from Louisiana, right? He's
okay.
the one who said, well, that's John, but he had the quote from him was, "I'm David Duke without the baggage."
Oh.
David Duke, the white supremacist. So nice.
Great.
Nice
That's what you want to hear.
It's a classy crew. Yeah.
I put this picture up because it's money and it's a fraud trial. The former President Trump has left New York City as day 3 of his civil fraud trial moves on. Trump accused by the New York Attorney General of inflating his net worth to try to get more favorable loans from banks. Yesterday, the judge issued a gag order aimed at Trump, banning anyone involved in the case now from making comments online or in public about the judge's staff. This after Trump unleashed his nastygram on the court clerk yesterday, crossing the boundary of the judge even.
Oh, my God. I mean, Trump and his people dox the judge. They dox anybody involved with this trial from the prosecution standpoint. And these are scary times. But I want to talk to Rothman about the Trump gag order also. So we've got a lot to talk to Rothman about, but go ahead.
It'll be interesting to see if he's able to, sometimes I think when someone tells him not to do something, he wants to do it even more. So we'll see how that works out.
They didn't say that they'll imprison him, but they said that there would be, the judge
sanctions.
said there would be sanctions.
Uh-huh. What does that mean? Contempt of court? You're in the holding cell? Finally, the orange jumpsuit. San Francisco woman, an update on this condition, her condition. She's in critical condition after being trapped under a robo-taxi. Authorities say this woman was crossing a busy intersection in downtown San Francisco. It happened on Monday night, 5th and Market, when she was hit by one car and then rolled off of that car with a human driver right in front of the robo-taxi in the next lane, of course, with no driver. The driver of the first car sped off after the woman hit the windshield, which sent her flying into the path of GM's Cruise robo-taxi. The driverless vehicle stopped on top of her. She was stuck underneath it for several minutes until being freed by firefighters. Again, now she's reportedly in critical condition with multiple injuries.
Wow, that's just brutal. What a bizarre set of circumstances led to that. Wow.
Horrible. And the whole thing with these cars is when they sense they're in a bad spot or danger, they just stop.
Right.
So it stopped right on top of her. The man,
crazy.
It's horrible.
If you're in, I was just, cruising around the city of San Francisco this past weekend, and it is wild to see how many there are, Cruise and Waymo driverless vehicles. There are a lot of them.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
They're all over the place. And, a lot of people think maybe they were given approval by the California Public Utilities Commission a little too quickly, because we have incidents like this that show maybe they're not so safe after all. Let's go to Tupac Shakur. The man accused of murdering Shakur will now be arraigned later this month in Las Vegas. Dwayne Keefe D. Davis expected to be arraigned today, but that arraignment has been moved to October 19th. After 27 years, Davis was arrested last Friday. And it's here. Powerball fever. Yep. Americans have it. The jackpot for tonight's drawing, $1.2 billion. What? Comes with a cash value of more than $551 million. The jackpot, now the third largest in the history of the game. So,
They've made it harder to win, which is why the jackpots are so much bigger, everybody. If you're wondering, wow, this is like a lot of record jackpots. Yeah, they've made it harder to win. They've added a number, I think.
Yeah.
I don't really play the lottery too much, but I was reading an article about how just adding that one number changes your odds against you, in some kind of massive fashion, exponentially harder to win. Exponentially is a ding word.
It's much harder, and that's why we see the bigger jackpots, because no one wins and they swell to this big, this big number.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Exactly.
Kevin Spacey says he was rushed to the hospital earlier this week due to heart attack symptoms during the closing ceremony of a film in Uzbekistan Monday night. Spacey said his arm went numb for about 8 seconds while he was taking a tour of a museum earlier in the day. He ended up being fine and was later able to attend the festival. And lastly, here's a picture of Lady Gaga with Tony Bennett. But the woman who brought Lady Gaga's stolen dogs to a police station in Los Angeles is officially not getting a $500,000 reward.
Oh, why is that, Kim?
The singer promised the reward after her French bulldogs were stolen from her dog walker in 2021. Remember that at gunpoint? It was a horrible situation.
Yeah.
Gaga's dog walker was shot during this robbery. Well, yesterday, a judge ruled the woman who returned the dogs had unclean hands and isn't entitled to the reward money. The woman claimed she was trying to protect the dogs, but also admitted to knowing they were stolen property when she got them. So she then becomes involved in the criminal case in the whole theft of the dogs. So if you participated in the crime, then
you can't reap the rewards for
There's
claiming
never been
that
anything like this.
Yeah,
the woman was trying to sue Lady Gaga, saying, hey, wait a minute. You said no questions asked.
Right.
You said return the dogs and I get the money. And now you're not giving me the money.
Wow.
And now
And
the
this
judge
is their
says
new hoax.
you don't deserve the money. Sayonara, sucker to you.
Nothing. You get yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds to me like she was involved in some fashion in the way you described. So I'm on Lady Gaga's, or as we call her, Gaga. I'm on Gaga's side.
You're on Gaga's side. That's right. This report is sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards, Tenuta Winery in Livermore. Beautiful place to go see the winery. As a matter of fact, they have all kinds of events coming up. Super exciting. Among the events, the Grape Stomp. During this harvest season, here are the dates for the next 3 grape stomps. They have one October 15th, October 22nd, and October 29th. And it's really fun. You go and it's very fall harvest vintagey, puts you in the autumn harvest spirit. You go stomp the grapes with your feet. They have a contest and you go get some wine and have a wine tasting as well. By the way,
is ready to pop, people.
That's right.
The wine's
pop it
ready
with
to
your
pop.
feet.
Yeah.
You get 10%. It's an exclusive Mark Thompson Show discount. 10% off across the board. This is at Tenuta Vineyards. All you have to do is call Tenuta and say, smash it with your iron rod, and you can get your 10% off of whatever you want. A bottle of wine, a case of wine, whatever it
with
may
your
be.
Iron rod.
All right.
That's right. And here's the phone number. It is
925-699-4576.
There you go. That's it. Smash it with your iron rod and off you go. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is The Mark Thompson Show.
Oh, yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
Yeah. What up, everybody? It is our Wednesday show. You know, Wednesdays are special because it brings into our mix someone who has really distinguished himself in so many ways when it comes to presidential history, American history, governmental history. And so he has met his moment, an unprecedented moment in Congress with the happenings of yesterday and the McCarthy removal. It'll be curious to get. I'll be curious to get John Rothman's thoughts about all of this. Here he is, John Rothman, everyone. All right,
Mark, happy anniversary. That's the first thing. And I want to thank you for allowing me to be included in your number.
Well, as I've told you before publicly, and I'll tell you again publicly, we are exploiting you. You've been part of our success. People love you, and I understand why. And now here you are commenting on an historic moment and a period in American history. Could you speak to everything going on?
Yeah, look, Mark, yesterday was an exceptional moment in the history of our country. We've never seen anything like it. We've never had a speaker repudiated by his own political party. Granted, a small number, but it revealed the weakness of what Kevin McCarthy did to become Speaker. He made a deal with the devil. And the minute he agreed to the idea that one person could raise an objection and have him removed as Speaker, I think he sealed his own doom. And may I say, it's on his head. The real story is the Republicans, self-destructive, they don't know how to govern, and they're very worried that they might lose their majority in the next congressional election. And based on their record, that's exactly what they deserve.
Well, even as you say that, I mean, that seems demonstrably the case. I'm wondering, Congress, the House is so heavily gerrymandered, many of these districts, that I think you can tell me, which is kind of why I'm asking you, what real risk many of these legislators have in their districts because they are so heavily gerrymandered.
It's a great question, but we've seen gerrymandered districts before, and if a national trend emerges, and we've seen those kinds of revolutions in 1994 with Newt Gingrich taking power, with the Democrats seizing control, with Nancy Pelosi as Speaker, you just never know. And so I can only say it's true the Republicans have an advantage in some districts, the Democrats have advantages in other districts, but it's the swing districts that are going to make all the difference in the world.
John, can you speak to what will happen now in terms of another shutdown of the government? I mean, they bought a month, but it appears that that same group that removed McCarthy is pretty committed to shutting down the government. They're not big fans of government.
They are, but understand something. The minute you have a motion to vacate the chair, and the chair is vacated, no business can take place in the House of Representatives without an elected speaker. The Speaker pro tem, the person who is presiding now, has only three things that person can do. One is call the session to order, two, to adjourn or recess, and frankly, number three, to call on people who want to speak. That's it. So until the Republicans resolve what they want to do, which will be a week from now, there will be a dramatic vote. And of course, what we have are critical issues on the table. The question of what happens when the agreement that McCarthy reached expires. Number two, what happens in Congress when they have a new speaker in terms of the approach to all of the issues, especially Ukraine. And people don't quite get it, but Ukraine was a critical issue for many of these renegade Republicans. So this is going to be really something. Candidates to succeed, we have two declared candidates. Scalise, who is the number two person in the Republican leadership, he is a martyr. He was severely injured in the baseball game shooting, and he's come back. Now, he has a blood disorder, cancer, but he seems to be doing okay. People like him. Let me explain. He's very far to the right. He's not a moderate Republican by any stretch of the imagination, but he is somebody who is to be reckoned with because most people view him in a favorable fashion. They like him. He's a likable guy. Now, Jim Jordan is announced as well. Talk about a polarizing figure. Jim Jordan is the most polarizing figure imaginable. But whatever happens, even if he's not Speaker, he remains chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, which is a critical role. So we're seeing a reshuffling of the Republican deck. And you'll please note that Donald Trump is quiet. He's not commenting on the leadership race. I was asked a question whether he might be interested in being Speaker of the House. And I said last night in an interview that I did, absolutely not. He would not accept such a position. And so I don't expect.
Well, you couldn't possibly. I mean, between his court cases and his golf game, you can't. He wouldn't want any job that would force him to show up.
That's true, but also it's unprecedented. There has never been a non-House member who has been elected Speaker. You could theoretically do that, but it just hasn't happened. And look, the Republicans in the House are ambitious, Mark. Believe it or not, they would like to be in charge. And so no one is going to surrender their potential ability to become Speaker of the House, which I would remind you is one of the most powerful positions in our government. You are a heartbeat away, if you will, after the Vice President. You're next in line for the presidency, and it's a big, big job with great responsibility. Kevin McCarthy earned everything he got yesterday by the agreements that he made in order to get the deal. It was a deal with the devil, if you will. If you remember the devil and Daniel Webster, was the same sort of deal of somebody selling their soul for power.
Yeah, I mean, I said in the first half hour, it's a Faustian deal he made, and he deserved it. Now, but I want to get back to shutting the government down, because the reality is that, first of all, it speaks to the lunacy of the House right now, that they remove McCarthy, and then what do? They take the rest of the week off. They literally, as John said, won't be back until next Tuesday.
It's nuts.
Yeah, it really is. It is crazy. So I ask you, John, again, with this coalition, the extreme right-wing coalition committed to shutting the government down, even over Ukraine or whatever, they hang the hook of shutting government down, hang on the hook of shutting the government down, many different things, as you're aware. But Ukraine is a big one, Ukraine money. I think there's a pretty good chance that it could happen again. Do you agree?
Yes, of course. Everyone understands it could happen again. And that's the tragedy. Let me point out the most salient thing in my mind, and that is that the Democrats didn't bring McCarthy down. The Republicans did. They're like a circular firing squad. And let me tell you, yesterday was not a good day for the Republicans. Not only did McCarthy get toppled, but where's Donald Trump? He's having a gag order imposed, a partial gag order, so that he can't continue to ruminate, condemn, speak out against the judge. I mean, you couldn't make this up. And what's tragic is, have you heard a word from any Republicans about the conduct of Donald Trump? Have you heard a word from any of them about Matt Gaetz? And by the way, just so you know this, the last time we elected a speaker when McCarthy won, Matt Gaetz cast his vote for Donald Trump. So it was no surprise when this came up again.
Well, I mean, just because you mentioned Matt Gaetz, and it's good that you did, because Matt Gaetz was really the prime mover on this move against McCarthy. Matt Gaetz is under an ethics investigation that's pretty serious. I mean, I think it's violation of the Mann Act. It's about to, it's literally transporting.
Did he kidnap an underage woman for sex? That's the
Thank
question.
you. That's exactly it.
I want to be clear. Matt Gaetz, by the way, feels he's the big winner. He is not ambitious in the House. He intends to run for governor of Florida when Ron DeSantis' term expires. Ron DeSantis is term limited. And Matt Gaetz could be the Republican nominee for governor of Florida. What a world we live in. I mean it
really, but I should just mention to round off the Matt Gaetz thing, that even though there wasn't enough there to bring sort of legal charges against Gaetz, although his partner was not only tried, he was convicted. He's doing time right now. The guy who's involved in the same kind of transportation of underage women. Gaetz could still be, tell me, John, I think I'm right about this, but I mean, the ethics committee they could go as far as to expel Gaetz, or they could certainly there could be some kind of sanction on Gaetz, even though the legal case wasn't there. The ethics committee has a different standard.
The operative word, Mark, is could. They could.
You don't think it'll happen?
Unlikely.
You don't think it'll happen?
Highly unlikely.
Okay.
Forgive the phone. I have it off the hook, but we've got several lines coming into the house, and I missed one.
No, it's no problem.
The end of it. Go ahead.
John's podcast is Around the Political World with John Rothman. It's a daily podcast that John does, and he's got tremendous following. Let me now ask you about Trump and the gag order. You have referenced it sort of in a glancing way before. Give me the arithmetic on Trump and the law and the gag order.
Okay, it's up to the judge. Remember, this is not a jury trial. Trump's lawyers did not request a jury trial, and so he doesn't have a jury trial. It's up to the judge. What is he doing every day? He's blasting the judge, and he's blasting the judge's staff, and he's making wild accusations. And essentially, the judge said, "Stop! I'm putting a gag order. It's a partial gag order. It does not mention Trump by name, but it mentions those who were involved in the trial. No one is allowed to comment. Will Donald Trump observe it? Of course not. He's not going to. But now he left today because he has campaign appearances. But I would suggest to you his sitting in that courtroom, which is not required, is a campaign appearance. That's what he's doing. He's trying to say to his base, I'm going to survive this. We're going to fight back. And that's Donald Trump. I don't understand, to be very honest with you, how a former president of the United States of America could have the chutzpah to attack a judge, to attack a district attorney, to make the kind of statements Donald Trump has made and not be taken down by his own political party. The deafening silence of the Republicans is appalling. It's inexcusable. And I have to tell you, Mark, and our listeners, I hope that the chickens come home to roost. That is to say, that Republicans ultimately wake up and understand the tremendous danger of a Donald Trump. Can I use one other example, if I may? The contrast between what was said last Friday by Joe Biden, the president of the United States, on the threat to democracy, versus Donald Trump's harangue, in which he made the most outlandish, outrageous comments, including that looters should be shot on sight. It is a contrast of approach. And look, I'm a simple fellow. I understand you can criticize a lot of people for a lot of things, but it is inconceivable to me that if you take those two speeches and you put them side by side, which is what I've done, what Donald Trump said is so outrageous, so egregious, so irresponsible, so contrary to America's system. It's just appalling. And it proved, in my mind anyway, the validity of Joe Biden's very eloquent address on the question of democracy in America.
In my last minute or two with you, John Rothman, I want to ask you about the replacement for Dianne Feinstein. Now, this was LaFonza Butler talked about in the context of being a veteran labor leader, and but not in the three primary candidates who were circling that seat. You know, Barbara Lee and Adam Schiff and Katie Porter. Give me your thoughts on the replacement and the very real essence of this that could divide Democrats about this seat and the support for LaFonza Butler, please.
It was a brilliant move by Gavin Newsom. She touches all the bases. She's black. She was not a candidate. She's gay. She has a husband. She is absolutely a solid choice, highly respected. I talked to friends of mine who were involved in Emily's List. They were all marvelously pleased with the selection, very surprised. Remember that the senator was not on anyone's list at all. It came completely out of the dark. I mean, nobody knew. And may I say that this is another example of Gavin Newsom. Whatever you think about Gavin Newsom, he is very smart and he knows exactly what he's doing. And I wonder, and we don't know the answer to the question, of whether when he said he had a black woman in mind, whether this wasn't in his mind all the way along.
Yeah, so well put. I mean, that
and she may run. She may announce.
Okay. So now that's
everybody to run for the United States Senate in California. You've got to be able to raise millions of dollars. She is with Emily's List. There is no organization better organized to raise money than Emily's List.
That helps. Tell everybody, or remind us, it helps women win political office, among other, and exactly. Deals a lot of women's issues in very strong ways, and rallies political support and money, as John says, in that way.
So if she chooses to run, she will be formidable. I have to say that Barbara Lee, I think, has a problem just in terms of continuing to garner support. Katie Porter is very well liked, but has not really taken off. The one who is a real opposition in my mind is Adam Schiff, who has raised massive amounts of money, has a wonderful reputation among Democrats, and was really viewed as the person who would probably win the primary. But Gavin Newsom has pulled another remarkable achievement. He's come up with a person whose credentials on paper and in fact are impeccable from Gavin Newsom's point of view and appealing to his base. And he let me point out, fulfilled his promise.
So, well, just because you mentioned the promise, and I really do have to jam here, but I love that you mention it. You know, he promised or indicated he didn't want to put his finger on the scale, and so that's why he passed over the three that we mentioned, you know, Lee, Schiff, and Porter. But the reality is there is no guarantee that Butler won't run. And so that would be a four-person race. As you said, that it might give her the edge in some way. She is, from a fundraising standpoint, she has some advantages. Do you feel in some way that his indication that he had 15 months left in the Feinstein seat, that he wouldn't put his finger on the scale? did he honor that or not?
Yes, I think he did. His putting the finger on a scale would have been to choose one of the three active candidates.
Okay.
The fact that he chose not to do that, and the fact that he put someone in who no one knows whether she will run.
Okay.
What was critical in my mind is that Gavin said he didn't ask for any commitments. And what that means is it's wide open. And if she runs, I want to emphasize this, we don't know her. The state of California doesn't know her, but she checks all the boxes of being a progressive, being African-American, being a lesbian, being someone who has advocated for women's rights, pro-choice, absolutely solid, and is well known to her base. And because her base is a powerful base in the California Democratic Party, and because she will have the ability, because of Emily's List, which raises vast amounts of money in order to support candidates they believe in, believe me, if the senator chooses to run, she will be a formidable contender. And if I were an Adam Schiff or a Katie Porter, who are the leading candidates, in my mind anyway, at least according to the polls, I would be very worried about it.
2 points that come in over the transom here. One is from Champagne Wishes. Are we not tired of lobbyists? I am. Same old, same old. Well, I would say, Mark, here it is, Mark. She's another connected insider. I would say this, and then, John, I'd like your... It depends what you're lobbying for. You know, when I hear lobbyist, are you an environmental lobbyist? Are you an oil company lobbyist? Are you lobbying for women's reproductive rights? I mean, these are all different things. So, John, speak to, if you will, just labeling somebody as a lobbyist, to me, I understand the implication, but it doesn't quite go far enough in specifics.
Not all lobbyists are negative.
Thank you.
When I was running Senator Marks' staff, I used to bring in lobbyists from two sides of an issue, put them in the same room, and have them argue in front of the senator and myself. Why? Because it raised issues, illuminated issues, gave us detail. So I'm not opposed to lobbyists. There's always a lobby for something. This woman, a newly minted United States senator, has a track record of believing in the issues she supports, of raising money for people that she believes can win. And no one, please note, there has been no criticism of her ability on that level. So I think it was a great choice. And I think this is another example of Gavin Newsom, whatever you want to say about him, is a smart guy. By the way, we're all going to be listening on November 30th. I know it's Winston Churchill's birthday and everybody will be celebrating Churchill's birthday. But on November the 30th, there will be a debate between Gavin Newsom and Ron DeSantis. And some say it may be the debate of the future. That is to say, a future presidential campaign. On the other hand, for both of them, it will be a critical moment of national exposure on Fox. It will be broadcast on Fox. Sean Hannity, I believe, is responsible for it. And I can't wait.
Sean Hannity's already written up his teleprompter script for after the debate, talking about how Newsom got owned by DeSantis. You know, and they've already decided. The jury's already come in on it.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Are you suggesting that one of the number one commentators in the country has a bias and might preconceive their notion? Oh, Mark.
How about the great John Rothman? Around the Political World with John Rothman. Subscribe to his podcast. It's a daily blast of politics and analysis, and we will talk to you next week, sir. John
Congratulations
Rothman,
on 1 year.
Thank you, buddy. You're so supportive. We appreciate it very much. See you next week.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Kim, we have a newscast to do, and then I've got Matt Stoller, I think. So are you good with that? Albert, is there anything else that I need to attend to before we get to Kim's news?
Albert, thank you.
We have a couple of these, and we'll get to the...
Sharon, come on, Sharon. Big shout out. Sharon Kidd.
On top of $100 from earlier.
Wow. Love John Rothman. Happy anniversary, Mark, Kim, Tony, and Albert. Love to all in the chat, too. Thank you so much, Sharon.
Thank you
Kidd.
so much.
Thank you so much. In fact, Sharon, for all of your generosity today, I think you deserve a thank you. Rod for a 20. Come on, Rod.
Big shout out.
Didn't Rod give us a 20 earlier?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. The Jameson household. How about a shout out?
Big shout out.
Pinky, thank you for $1 a day.
Big shout out.
Wow. You guys, this is great today. as we slide into our 1-year anniversary. I don't want to, not going to cry, but I'm just saying it's very strong. Smash the like button like a boss, Kim's News, and then we'll talk monopolies. Amazon, Google. I know labor is having a moment in America, but while we weren't looking, the idea of breaking up or holding what are de facto monopolies, holding them to account, that is having a moment too. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and this report is sponsored by the amazing and lovely people at Coachella Valley Coffee.
Woohoo!
Yeah. So we got Tenuta Vineyards for the last one, Coachella Valley Coffee for this one, and both offer an exclusive deal for Mark Thompson Show listeners. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. But first, I will say that House Republicans are scrambling. It is chaos. They're trying to find a new speaker after Kevin McCarthy was voted out of the role this week. Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan and House Majority Leader Steve Scalise of Louisiana both launched their bids today. Oklahoma Congressman Kevin Hern is also considered to be a likely contender. All three of these members made their pitch to the Texas delegation this morning, which is the largest in the Republican conference. Some conservative members have also floated Donald Trump for the job, as you heard John Rothman mentioning. The former president told reporters today he'll do whatever is best for the country, but said he's focused on becoming president. The House is currently on recess, and a speaker election is set for next Wednesday. Florida governor and presidential candidate Ron DeSantis says he will fulfill the promise that Donald Trump made in 2016 to build the wall and make Mexico pay for it. This didn't work the first time around. I don't know why he thinks it's going to happen now.
I got to say, that's a balls move, though, to dust off the same old bumper sticker crap that the last guy used and try to float it again.
DeSantis said despite running on the promise to have Mexico pay for a wall, Trump backtracked and said there was no viable way to make it happen. But DeSantis disagrees, and he vows to make it happen if he's elected in 2024. All right, then. Late Senator Dianne Feinstein in San Francisco is being honored today. She is lying in state in San Francisco City Hall, where members of the public are able to pay their respects. House Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi choked up when she spoke today about her friend.
Gathered in great sadness, though, with the loss of our Senator Dianne Feinstein. Gathered in great.
Yeah, she's choking up a little bit there as she's speaking. The longtime California senator, of course, died last week at the age of 90. She was the longest-serving female senator in American history and the first female mayor of San Francisco as well. There is a public memorial on the steps of City Hall in San Francisco set for tomorrow. Authorities are crowing about a major multi-million-dollar marijuana bust in Oakland. California's Department of Fish and Wildlife officials say this massive illegal marijuana grow operation was busted up last week at a warehouse on Adeline Street. Authorities eradicated more than 41,000 illegal marijuana plants. They destroyed nearly 1,900 pounds of processed cannabis.
That's an itty-bitty bit of weed?
That sounds like a little more than an itty-bitty bit.
Oh, yeah. The estimated value of this was nearly $37 million.
Wow.
No arrests made in connection with the bust, but the investigation continues.
No arrest made?
Straight up right in, no problem.
I guess no problem. So you didn't get the perps?
Nope.
They're still investigating. They'll get somebody.
Yeah,
I mean, you
they'll
can't
get
make
somebody.
a bust that big without,
A city worker in San Francisco could be in a bit of trouble after a video shows him knocking over a street vendor's food cart. The video has surfaced of the unidentified public works employee shoving a food vendor's hot dog cart to the ground, sending hot dogs, bell peppers, and other food flying. A statement from the city says the incident was likely during a permit enforcement operation, but city officials say the workers shouldn't have gone that far. It's unclear what led up to the incident in the first place. But this has become a big thing.
Yeah, I saw the video. It's pretty brutal. I think, there was a violation of law. That street vendor wasn't allowed to be out there, but it was just
didn't have a permit, yeah.
Yeah, but it was just I don't understand. It was pretty draconian is, I guess, one word, but I would call it almost, I don't know. I guess there is an investigation about it. It's more than draconian. You trash the guy's stuff. I don't know if you're allowed to do that, but.
No, I don't think so.
I think you'll have to probably.
I don't think that's the way the city processes protocols and standards work.
Yeah, we have
processes and protocols and standards.
Yeah, I think this was in violation. I'm sure those guys get frustrated because they get ignored, But by the same token, you can't do,
My bad. I'm sorry.
Right. You need some kind of apology.
7 people are facing charges after they were nabbed in an auto burglary operation in Oakland. Police say the undercover operation targeted car burglars. It was carried out late last week. Authorities say it is the latest part of a long-term strategy where police plan to target areas that have become havens for car theft. The city of Oakland has seen nearly 11,000 car burglaries this year. That's up 41% from this time last year. 41%.
God.
Yikes. The U.S. Postal Service releasing its postage stamp honoring the late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It features an oil painting of the justice showing her in a black judicial robe and her iconic white collar. In a statement Monday, the USPS Board of Governors Chair Roman Martinez called Ginsburg an iconic figure who dedicated her life to public service and the pursuit of justice. She served on the Supreme Court for 27 years and died in 2020 at the age of 87. Lastly, a wacky story out of Nebraska. Well, as you say, Mark, the United States of guns, that kind of wacky story.
Uh-oh.
This man officiating a wedding in Nebraska is now facing charges after he accidentally shot his 12-year-old grandson during the ceremony. According to police, Michael Gardner attempted to shoot a revolver loaded with a blank into the air to get the guests' attention.
What?
And start the wedding with a bang. Well, the gun slipped and he shot his grandson in the shoulder. The injuries are not life-threatening. The wedding was taking place in Denton, southwest of Lincoln. Just another one of these situations where,
well, I mean, I only wish a good guy with a gun had been there to
right?
To stop the. He was a good guy with a gun. Oh, okay. Well, there's
that worked out really well.
Shot his relative.
His 12-year-old grandson.
Well,
in the shoulder.
You'll always have that. It's kind of a nice way to, I think there's nothing in our history.
There is nothing in our history that quite compares to this.
There actually, in the nation's history, there is, but in that family's history, there is nothing to compare to that. They'll always remember that. And as they say, best wishes on your wedding.
What's that scar on your shoulder?
Right.
Oh, that's
who
my
invited
grandpa
these
shot me.
paramedics to our wedding? You did, Grandpa, when you shot my son.
Why are you yelling?
Can't even make it up. This report is sponsored by Coachella Valley Coffee. Best coffee in history. The only coffee on the Mark Thompson Show, for sure.
It
That's
really
right.
is perfect.
Yep. You get your 10% discount here on the Mark Thompson Show when you type in Mark T at checkout. And a lot of people love the coffee. I think you might have made my husband a believer in the Coachella Valley coffee. He's loving it every day.
It really is great, man. It really is great.
I'm loving the tea. The tea is really wonderful, too. The ginseng mint is not a flavor that I would have picked, but he sent some to me, and I'm going to reorder it because I really, really like it a lot. So
they have Earl Grey. They have all kinds of, just as they do the coffee. Check the bean that's best for you. And as we mention with Coachella Valley Coffee frequently, but I want to mention it again, it is fresh grow, first crop, meaning you're getting the beans freshly and the beans are all hand roasted. That's why I think in part This coffee tastes so rich and terrific, and you should find, as I say, the bean that's right for you. There are many different beans on the site, and there are tasting notes under each bean, so definitely check it out and get whatever you want off the site, and you'll get 10% with the Mark T code at checkout, 10% off.
And now you can get your Why Are You Yelling decaf.
Oh, that's right. The Why Are You Yelling, which comes from Peru. And that's a water, the way they get the decaffeinated thing is, what is it, Swiss water process? And so it's very...
Google it.
Yeah, Google the
Fancy.
process. It's good. Yeah.
So now we have the Why Are You Yelling red wine from Tenuta, and we have the Why Are You Yelling decaf coffee from Coachella Valley Coffee.
Yeah,
I can't imagine that life could be much better for us on the Mark Thompson Show. 1 year anniversary, we got the wine, we got the coffee. Yeah, all good.
Go nuts on the site at Coachella Valley Coffee and take 10% off whatever you ordered with Mark T at checkout. So
I'm Kim McAllister. This is the Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson. The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson? 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 Who's Mark Thompson?
All right. I welcome you back. It is our second hour. And you'll check on Matt, Kim, because I don't see Matt waiting. So I really want to talk to Matt Stoller. For some reason, we can't get him today. We'll get him for you tomorrow, I guess, or anyway, we're not there. But I do want to.
It does look like she's reaching out right now.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Albert. The meantime, I want to just quickly acknowledge Patreon subscribers. Maybe you can put up the banner as to how to become a Patreon subscriber. We are closing in on our 1 year anniversary. Everybody's been so supportive through that last year, and we have some new subscribers. Kathy A.K. What up, Kathy A.K. on Patreon? Appreciate you being among our new subscribers.
Big shout out.
Yeah, big shout out. Also, Foothill Cindy. Foothill Cindy is
big shout out.
Big shout out to Foothill Cindy is a new Patreon subscriber. And let me see who else. There are quite a few new subscribers and supporters through Joan is another. Joan L, I'll just say.
Big shout out.
Yeah, I like to keep people's, unless they indicate they don't mind. I don't like to mention people's last names. Sometimes they'll mention in the chat, which is cool, but then I know that it's public, but otherwise I like to keep it. And Kathy, also with a Patreon subscription, monthly subscription. Thank you so much, or thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, really, really cool. The reality is that this is the way we sustain ourselves month to month. So Patreon and PayPal, great ways to support us on an ongoing basis, and you can find links to both there, Patreon or PayPal, at themarkthompsonshow.com. You have to put the Mark Thompson Show in, otherwise you end up at a ventriloquist site. themarkthompsonshow.com. Also, thanks to Patty. Did I mention Patty before? Big shout out to Patty.
Big shout out.
Yeah, really, really cool. So, very excited about Patty joining among the others who are part of our Patreon subscription army. It takes that to really bring the kind of monthly support that we can plan on. And so very, very cool to have you all in the mix. I will, without any further delay, ask...
The Mark Thompson Show.
Will we have Matt? I see now Matt's connected. I don't see a signal. Maybe we'll only have audio from him. I don't know. But you don't really need to see him, per se. You need to hear from him, though, because he's amazing. I think Matt Stoller does some of the best reporting on monopolies, on big business, and what happens in that world, and how the FTC, for really the first time in recent history anyway, is pivoting to actually take Amazon to task and Google as well when it comes to monopolization. So again, I don't know if we'll be able to see Matt, but I hope we'll be able to hear Matt. He does a great Substack. I'm a paid subscriber to his Substack, and we'll get you all hooked up on that as well. We're going to talk Amazon. We'll talk Google. We'll talk about monopolies being taken on by this administration for the first time in a while. Here it is, Matt Stoller, everybody. Hey, Matt.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm well. It's so great to have you here. I've been a fan for a while, and so it's really cool to have you in our mix. I think you write so smartly on this. I was extolling your virtues in hour one, and I just was trying to kind of set up how important a voice you are when it comes time to keep track of so much that's going on with big business and government. And let's face it, I mean, I think our government, these are my thoughts anyway, more or less owned by big business. And so the regulatory instruments that are used to keep an eye on big business or in any way restrain big business, they're slowly unraveling. And so at this moment, this is kind of why I was excited to have you on, at this moment, whereas I was saying the FTC seems to be pivoting and this government seems to be pivoting in some sort of regulatory way toward huge big business outfits, Amazon and Google. I wonder if you can tell me what the realities are. And then, if you will, after that Jetliner review, we'll get into a little bit of how Amazon works and why, how effective and truly invasive they've become in trade. Go ahead, Matt.
Thanks for having me. So wait, what do you want me to talk? What do you want me to
I want you to talk about this moment in time at the FTC, first of all.
Okay.
Is it the FTC that's keeping I mean, what's happening that is now holding Amazon and Google to account or trying to?
So by and large, the Biden administration is like kind of terrible in a lot of different areas, but they're great on antitrust, which is the area I deal with, and competition policy. And that's basically the rules that we use to organize big business. It's an important set of rules, not the only rules, lots of other rules that we use, but antitrust is a system of law that you use to make sure that companies don't monopolize markets or don't engage in price fixing or other forms of collusive behavior to undermine the rights of the public in different ways, consumers or workers or suppliers or communities. We have, won't surprise you, we have not been enforcing these laws for 40 years. And so we have a monopoly crisis in lots of different areas, like everywhere from Google, which is a monopoly over search, to things like baby formula, where you have, those are state level monopolies, or airlines, right? We have just a few major airlines and then specific routes. Oftentimes there's two or sometimes even one choice. And so, and you can find all over the economy, from mail sorting software to cable to whatever it is, you have one or two choices, or 3 or 4 choices, but they sort of tacitly collude. And so the terms by which we engage in commerce are set by a small group of people far away from us, right? We live in a democracy in the political realm, but in the commercial realm, we're really in an authoritarian world increasingly. So how we work, how we trade, how we buy and sell, how we exchange information, all of these are mediated by one or two entities. So traditionally, the way that we deal with this problem is through antitrust, which allows the government or private actors to sue when a company is using unfair or coercive practices to build or maintain a monopoly. And there are lots of different ways that companies do this, and there are lots of different ways you can use antitrust law or laws against unfair competition to address it. And what we're starting to see over the last few years is that the government is actually starting to use this type of law, and so are private litigants. And there are, I think, 2 big cases right now, although, there's lots of cases in lots of areas of the economy that indicate this significant change. So there's a trial against Google for monopolization that's going on right now in DC. It's been going on since September 12th, and it'll probably go on until mid-November. And that's for Google's monopolization of the search engine market. And then there's and that's run by the Department of Justice Antitrust Division, which divides antitrust authority with the other main agency, which is the Federal Trade Commission. And then the other big case is the Federal Trade Commission that just filed a case against Amazon for monopolizing online retail markets and inflating prices to consumers in a way that hides the price increase, which I can go into as well. There's a lot of other stuff that's not just big tech, like the DOJ just found a giant price fixing conspiracy among meat packers. So turkey, pork, chicken, those prices are inflated because of a company that essentially sold data about what every company was charging to all of the companies in the industry, and then gave them consulting services and said, raise your price here, cut your output there. And you see this like kind of across the economy. But the big cases are the ones against Google and Amazon, because these are the $1 trillion companies. So it's like a big moment, right? Because you haven't seen a major monopolization case for 25 years since the Microsoft trial in 1998. These are high tech companies. These are the companies that are sort of bleeding edge. These are the companies that are going to deploy generative artificial intelligence, which everyone sort of sees as kind of the next frontier of science and technology. So it's a big deal. It says a lot about where our society is going to go and who's in control of it. But it's also, these are large companies that make a lot of money. They are defunding the press, the local news publishers. They also control access to information. Google would be in the form of the web, Amazon in the form of books. And then they structure markets for millions of small businesses who have to obey their terms or go out of business. So it's like a big deal. It's fascinating. It's an amazing time to be paying attention. It's bipartisan too. So it's like a really interesting area of politics that I think people should pay attention to.
It's why I wanted to have you on. I think you're exactly right. It's really a moment. And I have a couple of follow-ups. First of all, it's galling to think that, there's this collusion in the meat industry, and that because these meat industry, Amazon and Google, you can speak to this, but I mean, they get great benefits, tax benefits from us, the American taxpayers. The meat industry is supported by us. I mean, so when you hear that there is collusion going on, or there's any kind of strategy to increase prices, it's particularly galling, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, so right now, I think people are sensitive to price. And I think for two reasons. One, there's been a lot of inflation, and so prices are much higher. But two, I think that we don't poll on this or measure this, but I think there's just been a lot more cheating. And I think everybody kind of notices that you're like asked for tips a lot more. Like my locksmith had like a line for tips, like weird stuff. And then like you have like random administrative fees on every single bill now. And it's like, so it's not that prices, like, yeah, prices are much higher. And that's really, depending on your circumstances, it can be annoying or it can be really devastating, but it also feels really unfair. And that's like the situation that we're in. And so with the Amazon case, it's about, well, I mean, I could go into it. I want
to go into it in just 1 second. But I just want to get clear on this. You're saying that there are sort of these insidious ways to mark up what would otherwise be either transactions or goods and services that didn't exist before?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, so if you look at the meatpacking case, right? So one of the interesting things is there was this debate a couple of years ago about whether inflation was being driven by corporate collusion and concentration or not, right? Right after the pandemic, there's all this like massive price hikes, but also like, it's not like we're getting paid more. Although I'm an out of touch elite in DC, so I get paid more, right?
I can tell.
Yes, no. But profits were way up, and people were like, well, maybe the profits are up. And that's driving price hikes. And all the economists were like, you are so ridiculous. This is just supply and demand. And there's no evidence that concentration is driving price hikes or that it's even increased in concentration. But of course, if you look at like Amazon, obviously they are a monopolist of online retail. I think everybody kind of knows that. But you could look at the meatpacking industry. Well, say, well, they're not a monopolist. There's 4 companies that are in the, say, pork processing industry or beef processing industry. That's not a monopoly. But it's like, if they all belong to the same company that like that tells them what to price. Like basically if they have a price fixing conspiracy, then even though there are 4 companies, there is actually unified control. It operates like a monopoly. And we've seen that and then this is a good case in the meat industry. But, the ProPublica exposed that there's something similar in rentals. So landlords, particularly large institutional landlords, all use the same rental software, which offers them recommendations on pricing. So you might see like landlords refusing to lower rent. They normally would lower rent, or they normally wouldn't raise it as high, but because they're getting recommendations of pricing from this central kind of price fixer, it is driving up prices. And my guess is that if you look in the economy writ large, what you'd find is that this is actually far more pervasive than you would expect. So companies, there's a kind of loose coordination going on across corporate America to kind of raise prices on all of us. And there are also all of these kind of like consultants, like McKinsey and Bain, they all have pricing arms, and they recommend to companies, here's where you can stick a fee into what you're charging. So like the movie theater chains, you go to a movie theater and it's like, if you go to the ticket window and you buy a ticket, it's $10 or $15 or whatever it is. If you buy it online, they add like a $3 convenience fee. And why? It's actually like lower cost for them to add for if you buy it online. They don't have to hire someone to take, to give you change or whatever it is. But they just are like, oh, well, our like annoying economist told us that's a friction point where we can force someone to pay a few more dollars. And that's what's happening across the economy. And that's not necessarily illegal. Some of this is illegal, but it does indicate a kind of loose coordination that allows for this kind of like corporate America to kind of raise prices on all of us without delivering anything more or better. And I think that's generating a really angry political backlash, as it should.
That's so well described, and now I want you to well describe what's happening on Amazon. Did you have something for Kim? Kim, did you have something for Matt?
No, I just wanted to agree. I had to buy a high school yearbook the other day for my daughter. It was $95, and I go onto the Jostens website. They charged me a $5 fee for the privilege of using their website, a website use fee.
That's right, exactly. It's like I have to pay like my Pepco bill, right? So for my like utility bill, and it's like a $3 surcharge to use their payment system, right? And I'm like, it's like the $95 is outrageous, right? It's a yearbook, but the $5 is what makes it unfair, right? Because you're just like, oh, they're ripping me off, right? Like they're just taking money because they have power over me.
And you have no choice but to pay it if you want the yearbook.
And in the aggregate, Matt's saying, and people have. That's what really has. There's a collective anger about this.
Like I had an experience last night. I went to a local restaurant and they put, so DC passed a law saying that you have to pay your waiters minimum wage, and regardless of tips. And so what a lot of the restaurants in DC started doing is they started putting this special charge on their menus saying it's the I-82 charge, saying you have to pay this extra charge to pay wages. And then they also ask for tips. And I was like, don't raise your prices. Like raise your prices so that you can charge, what you need to charge to run your business. Don't put an extra fee. And then what they were trying to do is they were trying to say, well, they effectively tried to guilt me into being like, well, you have to also tip because, our waiters work hard. And I was like, you are trying to manipulate me into actually having to like pay your fee and also pay wages that you should be paying. Just raise your prices to something to run your business so you can do it reasonably and fairly. And whenever a restaurant is like, we're raising our prices because costs went up, I'm like, okay, I don't like it, but I get it. It's fine. It's fair. It's reasonable. It may not be nice, but it's reasonable. But like, it's this ticky-tack cheating bullshit that I think is like, it's just overwhelming and constant. And like the restaurant did it, and they are like not that good at it because they're small business. So they don't, you actually have someone you can complain to and be like, please don't do this, right? Yeah. It's the big businesses and the businesses that are distant that can put the friction point in a way that you have no way to push back.
And you feel like ripped off.
Totally. I mean, it's this constant.
It is a ripoff in a way. You know, I saw the same thing, Matt, with the other night. It's funny you mentioned restaurants because it's an odd thing that they added as a line item a health and medical for staff line there. I mean, I'm thinking, why don't you just factor that into the price of the entrees? You know what I mean?
So I was like, it's very confusing. And what they're doing is there's like a guilt trip going on there where it's like, I don't want to deal with your emotional stuff. Like, I want to go, like, I'll pay you what you charge more if you need more. And I can make a decision about whether to buy when I look at the menu. Don't like charge me extra. And that's the way that like it was. I'm particularly annoyed because this happened last night, but like a few weeks ago, it was the locksmith, and it wasn't, the locksmith wasn't at fault. He worked for some locksmith company. It was the app that he was using to charge, right? Which is a software app that makes it super easy to ask for tips. And so they did. And then it's like, it is a very weird change in our economy that I think is like spearheaded by, by like this extreme form of passive aggressive, unethical greed. And like, I don't know. It's something that I think there's like an element of this inflation, which has to do with basic fairness, and people don't feel like the situation right now is fair to them. And they don't feel like they have choices they don't feel like they have choices in what they're buying, and they don't feel like they're being the payment, like the prices are told to them up front. There's just like, and it's cheating.
Well, you've said a lot, and the competitive environment doesn't exist. There's a patina of a competitive environment, but it's not really a competitive environment, and that brings us to Amazon. Amazon seems like just the coolest thing. You're Amazon Prime. You never have to pay for shipping, blah, 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 blah. Matt, break it down. Amazon is really a lot more than meets the eye.
Yeah, so Amazon Prime has 170 million members, which is basically every household in America. I think more people by a large degree have Amazon Prime membership than go to church. It's just, this is and it's a really good deal. You get free shipping and a low price guarantee. So what could be wrong with that? And the answer is a lot. There is actually a hidden tax that Amazon imposes, not just on all of their Amazon Prime customers, but on pretty much everyone who buys anything on the internet. And it doesn't appear that way, but here's how it works. About 60% of what's sold on Amazon isn't sold directly by Amazon. It's sold by third-party sellers. So you can think of Amazon's business as they're like a shopping mall, right? And so there is an Amazon store in the shopping mall, so you can buy things directly from Amazon. But there are also a lot of other stores that pay rent to Amazon for placement in the Amazon store, in the Amazon mall. And Amazon charges a lot of money to be in the Amazon mall, because if you're selling online, that 170 million Prime customers, they buy from Amazon. They don't really price shop or anything like that. So if you're trying to sell online, you either sell through Amazon or you don't sell online, right? That's pretty much the way it goes. Or you just completely go off Amazon and it's very difficult, but you could lose 40, 50% of your customers if you don't. So what does Amazon do with this power, right? The ability that you have to sell through Amazon. Well, they say you're going to pay us about 50% of your revenue. So the take rate, which is to say that to be in the Amazon mall, you have to pay them every dollar you get in revenue, you have to give Amazon 50 cents of it. But also, Amazon says you're not allowed to charge lower prices outside of Amazon. And what that means is that companies raise their prices everywhere else on the web to make sure that Amazon's prices are not higher than anyone else's. And then all the free shipping, right, and all of the Amazon Prime benefits are paid for with this 50% take rate, this giant fee. So let me just give you a little bit of math. It won't be too much. Let's say that you're buying it's a widget. You pay $10 on Amazon. The merchant that's making the widget gets $5. they could sell it off Amazon for $5, but they're not allowed to. So they have to sell it for $10 on Amazon and $10 off of Amazon. So you think you're getting the lowest price because you're like, well, it's $10 on Amazon is $10 off of Amazon. But if Amazon didn't have anti-discounting provisions in their relationship with merchants, it would be $5 outside of Amazon. And you would be able to buy it for half the price you're paying. So it's a hidden tax that people don't see. That amounts to about, that 50% take rate amounts to about $130 billion a year. And that's what actually pays for the quote unquote free shipping and all of the other stuff. And it inflates prices across the economy. It's a really clever form of cheating because people don't see it, so they don't think it's happening. But it explains why prices are going up broadly, and things are the sort of the low price guarantee on Amazon just means that prices are higher everywhere. It doesn't mean that things are cheap on Amazon. It means that they're more expensive everywhere, more expensive than they should be.
That's such a fascinating and underhanded way to do it. Clever, clever in an underhanded way on the part of Amazon. And to be clear, you're saying if I'm selling my widget and trying to discount it somewhere else, Amazon will exile me from Amazon. I can't do that. That's violation of the terms that I agree to when I am a merchant on Amazon.
It's not. So they used to have it in the contract. They used to say you just can't sell this outside of Amazon for a lower price. And then they got in. The Senate wrote to them, and Europeans started investigating. And so Amazon said, "Oh, we won't do that. That's not right. That's illegal and unethical." So what they just started doing is they just started doing it via an algorithm. So they would say, if we scrape the web, and if we find the price of your item cheaper anywhere else, you just won't appear on Amazon search results. Right. So that's, and
that's the mall that you're talking about.
Right.
Like that's the mall I want to be in. I want to be on that first page of Amazon choices if I'm a merchant.
Right. Well, I mean, when you go to it's called the buy box, right? It's this technical thing. When you search for a product on Amazon, you like whatever it is, a pen or something like that. You go and there's a bunch and it says buy, click here to buy now, right? That's called the buy box. And Amazon gets to choose which merchant gets to be that buy box, gets to deliver that particular sale. And like 80-90% of the time, the customer will just click buy. And if they if they know that there are other merchants that are selling this, which most people don't and don't care about, there is a small link that says look at other merchants, and you can click on that. And it's 5 to 10% of the time people might do that. But essentially, if you can't get the buy box, then you can't sell on Amazon. And if you are charging lower price for something off of Amazon, then Amazon won't let you get the buy box. And so some merchants have said, not just we're going to charge lowest prices on Amazon and we won't charge lower prices anywhere else. They actually are like, we're not even going to sell anywhere else. We're not going to sell on our own website because it's just not worth it. Because Amazon makes mistakes too. They might screw up and you will never win the buy box and you won't know why. Like it's really opaque and weird. Another thing that came out in the case is there's apparently something called Project Nessie, which Amazon just arbitrarily raised prices on consumers through a secret algorithm. They just kind of did. And then there was a congressional investigation in 2019 and they stopped doing it. But there was
across the board when you say they kind of raised prices?
No, they would do it so Amazon changes prices 2.5 million times a day. So what would happen is at arbitrary moments, and I talked to somebody who used to be at Amazon about this. He's like, he used to sell TVs, and he's like, at random moments, we would not know why a product was sold, and we didn't he's like, we were told why Amazon was the one that was able to sell the TV. Usually it's because we had the lowest price, but sometimes we would lose, we wouldn't win the buy box. It would go to someone else, and that was sometimes because someone else had the lowest price, or sometimes we were out of stock, and so someone else would sell it. But then he's like, at this certain moment, I guess this is 2015 or 2016, we started getting this report on why we didn't win the sale. And it just said Project Nessie. And he's like, we had no idea what it was. But if it was if we lost it because it was the lowest price, it would have said price. But it just said Project Nessie. And he was like, we all hate, he's like, internally, the people at Amazon who sold stuff, they hated it because it was clearly imposed by the higher ups. And what it turns out Project Nessie is Amazon would would just arbitrarily raise prices on something and then hope that other entities online like Walmart or Best Buy or whoever it was would also raise prices. And then if others raised prices, then they would keep their prices high. So it was like this way of tacitly signaling to everyone online, hey, let's all raise prices. And just like such a scam. It's such a scam. And like, that's what they're doing. I don't know. It's like,
so now speak to, if you would, Matt, speak
that's
to
where
what's
the
happening.
free shipping comes from. I'm sorry.
Right.
It's like, guys, there's no such thing as a free lunch. Free shipping. It's not like they invented it. They're not magical. They're just stealing.
Speak to this moment, though, where as we started there and we can finish in the same place, which I think makes front and center an effort to rein in some of what you're talking about. Is it a reality?
Yeah, I mean, the complaint is pretty good. The complaint goes into all of this and says, here are the things that Amazon is doing to raise prices. And they, saying you can't discount outside of Amazon, it's called an anti-discounting provision. And so one of the things that they think you could do with this lawsuit, if it's going forward, it'll probably take a few years. Although it's having impacts now. Amazon is starting to treat their third-party sellers better. But if you can get rid of the anti-discounting provisions, then the economics of Amazon don't make any sense, because what will happen is you'll see lower prices and competition. And so Amazon is going to have to actually start to compete on price again, which they haven't had to do for quite some time. And a lot of like the internal systems are actually pretty inefficient. They're just supported by monopolization. It's why they can spend $1 billion on like stupid Lord of the Rings stuff. Like, no one paying for that, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And they're going to have to stop like wasting all that money. And one of the ways that Amazon's like not actually very good, they're not a very efficient corporation, is their executives, like other companies are often going to Amazon and being like, we need a new CEO. Let's get someone from Amazon because they're great, because they're so, Amazon's amazing. And what started to happen is like companies have hired out of Amazon, hired CEOs. And then after about a year or two, they usually get rid of them because they screw up the company because they're not good at anything. They're just good at like operating within a monopoly. And that's
so I just want you to spend a second on Lina Khan, because she kind of broke down some of this. There's been much made of, maybe you can tell us who Lina Khan is and her, just summarize sort of why she might be a difference maker, or is she a difference maker potentially?
Well, she's the most hated woman on Wall Street. I'll say that. So, I mean, that's just solid.
Yeah, right.
Like Wall Street supported Biden, particularly the private equity industry supported Biden in 2020. And almost single-handedly, because of Lina Khan, not entirely, but almost single-handedly, they are considering supporting Trump in 2024. So to me, that's A-okay, right? And it's because she's thrown a spanner into the works of mergers and acquisitions on Wall Street, which is sort of the bread and butter of consolidation that makes our lives worse. But in terms of what she did with Amazon, is she is famous. She's a young academic, and she got famous for writing a law review paper when she was in law school in 2017, called Amazon's Antitrust Paradox, in which she argued that Amazon's structure and strategy was a function of law. They weren't geniuses. They weren't like super tech savvy types. They were just people who really understood how to avoid antitrust scrutiny and how to actually organize a business around monopolistic principles. And she used that story to explain why antitrust law and regulatory policy had really gone awry since the 1970s. It's like, how can you have an antitrust law on the books that said monopolization is illegal and yet have companies like Amazon and Google and Microsoft and Apple and Facebook, some of the biggest companies the world has ever seen. These two things are incongruous unless there's a specific interpretive framework for antitrust, which doesn't allow antitrust enforcers to bring cases. And so she described that dynamic and why Amazon is such a powerful and important company. And now, 6 years later, she's the chair of the commission that actually filed a case saying Amazon is unlawfully maintaining its monopoly and should be broken up. And that's, I think, a big deal and speaks to the power of ideas and the power of the potential good that we can do through politics.
Well, I love that you mentioned this last thing and such a good drill down a little bit on Lina Khan and her importance. But the last thing you mentioned is that we can make a difference. This is not just like a lot of other issues where you go, well, it's just too big. I don't know what we can do.
Right.
Because it's this can be influenced by consumer dissatisfaction and by popular dissatisfaction. Make enough noise, and we can actually make a change here.
Well, I would say I would sort of slightly tweak what you said. So as a consumer, you have no power, and as a consumer, it doesn't make sense to go off of Amazon. Same thing with Google. It's like these are monopolies, right? And if you buy from Amazon, you buy from Amazon, right? I'm not a Prime member, but it doesn't matter. Like I use Google, I use Amazon, I use these companies. You don't have these are institutions that are creatures of law, and so we need to use politics in the best sense of the word to restructure them and to restructure our markets. So this is if the dissatisfaction is a consumer, you express that through politics, and you tell your policymakers to address it, or you bring cases yourself or support, and you could tell your state AG to do it. Like all these things matter and are really helpful. I don't think that, we're not consumers who vote with our wallets. That's not a thing. You spend money.
No, when I say make noise, I mean through the political pipelines.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I'm not talking to you. A lot of people think, well, they feel guilty. They're like, why? Oh, I buy from Amazon. I know they're just really convenient, and but I know I shouldn't. And you're like, no, it's fine. This is a political problem. This is not a problem you can address through your choices of where to spend things. Like that's a fake thing. Consumer boycotts don't work, and they never have. They're very rare instances. They have to be paired with aggressive political action as well.
That's why this Lina Khan is exciting, and that there is some political noise. But as you said it, we're swimming upstream against some pretty strong currents. The last thing I will just check off with you on is I think the process of regulating or going through the courts or the legal process, if you will, it takes years, doesn't it, Matt? This whole process is very slow.
It does. It takes a long time, and Biden's judges are bad. He keeps picking bad judges. We have like a thoroughly mediocre legal establishment. Most of the Democratic world, and Republican.
You're saying when you say bad judges, you mean that their disposition toward big business is very positive, right?
Yeah, they're like people who think that like they can, that corporations need to be protected from the government, and they believe they did some pro bono work for the ACLU, but at the same time they're like cool with price fixing, and they're cool with Google, right? I was just looking at this like woman named Karen Dunn, who's a big law person. She works at a firm called Paul Weiss. She was almost the head of the antitrust division, and she like on her bio, it's like she prosecuted helped prosecute the Charlottesville thing. She helped do debate prep for Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and Kamala Harris. And she helped prepare Jeff Bezos' testimony before the House Antitrust Subcommittee. And she represents Google. And it's like, that's the vibe. That's like a lot of the vibe in the Democratic legal establishment and the Republican legal establishment, except you flip the social issues. It's not the vibe for like Lina Khan. It's not the vibe for like Jonathan Cantor. They're different. Like in both parties, there are populists, and then there are the kind of anti-populists. And I think you have a war and a fight within the establishment over this. And so that's why, like the Biden administration, there are a bunch of people who believe what we believe, which is that like being nickeled and dimed is a political crisis, and we need to get on it. But then there are a lot more people in that Democratic establishment who are, who don't really see a problem. And I think that, it's way better than it was under Obama. I mean, Obama was terrible and his people were almost uniformly horrible. Biden, you got a quarter of them are okay, and a few of them are great. And a lot of them are bad, but like, it's still a lot better than the travesty that was the Obama administration. But like, I think the basic dynamic here for people who care about political economy is whether you're Republican or you're Democrat, you have to work within your party to say we need a different approach to political economy. And that's like, I think that's kind of the core of it. And we need to move these people who have done such damage to our society out of the way, and on both sides.
So good, Matt. I love your Substack. I'm a paid subscriber, and I encourage everybody else to jump on it. Big by Matt Stoller, and he lays it all out there and follows all of this stuff. And a lot of the minutia of this is hard to follow, but you make it all palatable. I really appreciate you spending some time with us today. Thank you, Matt Stoller.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, Matt Stoller, everybody. Right on.
The Mark Thompson Show.
How good is he? How good is he? Man.
Really good. Yeah, liked him.
Got to get him back.
I'll try. I'll do it.
Yeah, would love to get him back. I don't know if there's anything in the chat that I need to pay attention to immediately. Thank you, Matt. Very helpful to better understanding our economy. Come back soon, says Brian. Yeah, that's where major announcements of Square. Matt is cool. I agree, Matt. Very good. SF Tesla says, let me explain this to you all right here and now. I like any comment that starts with that. Let me explain this all to you right here and now, my lord. This is the strongest, most powerful thing I've seen in 1 year on the Mark Thompson Show ever. Well,
wow.
Wow. I mean, I thought it was very good. You may have missed a show or two to say it's the strongest, but maybe it is the strongest. I wouldn't argue with it. I think Matt's great. That dude rocked, says Jason. Yeah, thank you. Really, really cool. Well, thank you for the support. We try to bring you good guests and new guests. I really wanted you to hear from Matt. That was one of the guests that was enterprising for some time, and I just felt at this moment in time with Amazon and Google legal actions in an attempt to sort of regulate and somehow restrain much of what Matt's talking about, you'd like to hear from him. Now, help me with this. Kyle? Kyle O'Keefe? Is that a super sticker? In the rich tradition of your show, I was tempted to give you nothing. Wow. Well.
INR, you get nothing.
Thank you, Albert. But happy anniversary. Hoping you have Jank and or Anna from TYT on sometime soon. This is from Kyle. A big 20 and a big shout out.
Big shout out.
Thank you, Kyle. And Jank
it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
It is a wild idea to have Jank on. He has just written a book, which I just picked up, and as soon as I finish it, I'll have him on, because Jank is a terrific voice and a fair voice on many issues, progressive issues. Sandra Thomas for $10. Thank you for the super sticker.
Big shout out.
Big shout out. Thank you so much, JR.
Thank you so much.
JR, happy 1 year anniversary. Yeah, it is our 1 year anniversary coming up. See, week-long celebration that begins next week. A lot of people jumping in early. Congratulations on nearly 1.25 million views. That's right. Thank you, JR.
Big shout out.
Big shout out, JR. Yeah, we're doing well in terms of numbers. Jim Slayton with a $5. Happy anniversary. Big shout out, Jim.
Big shout out.
Thank you. Here at the end of the show. And 20 from JR. This is to cover microphone cleaning and coffee mug storage fees.
Big shout out.
Sometimes I feel like I am doing the show from a mug store. Yeah, it has that look. But please have Tony increase my font size in the crawl. Yes, JR with another 20.
Big shout out.
I will talk to Tony and make certain that your font size is increased.
Thanks, Tony.
Luis in the super sticker says, happy anniversary, MT family. Somewhere, Kevin McCarthy is green with envy of your longevity. Yeah, 1 year really outpaces McCarthy by quite a bit. Thanks for a wonderful experience each and every day. Luis, thank you. I know you're a regular. I'm not going to cry.
I'm not gonna cry.
I'm not going to cry, but I am touched by that. Really, really cool. Yeah. My studio clock is gone. Let me see. All right, I've got another minute.
12:59.
12:59. So I wonder if there is a $10 super sticker from
Mary Vance. Nice.
Mary Vance.
Big shout out.
Big shout out, Mary Vance. Thank you, Mary Vance. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it very much, everybody. You should find the single highest day of donation this year. I have a feeling it'll be topped on 10/12/23. That's our official anniversary is the 12th. What day of the week is that next week?
That's a Thursday.
When is it? Thursday? Okay. I don't
So
know.
Thursday, also that night will be our virtual meetup. We'll give you information on that tomorrow. And we're going to limit that to 20 people. We hope we get 20 people to jump on board. We're going to do a 2-hour virtual meetup, anniversary meetup for our 1-year anniversary. But until then, we're just celebrating with you. And I wonder if we should, we can play. I was trying to find the greetings that we had at the beginning of the show. We can go back and listen to them, I suppose.
You know who I've scheduled for our anniversary show is Professor Fracknoy.
Ah.
Because there's some type of eclipse happening on the 13th, 14th. So we're having him in on the 12th to preview what we're going to see in the sky.
Oh, that's really cool. So if you like Professor Andrew Fracknoy, he'll be here on our anniversary.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. And I'll organize for you the other greetings. If you want to send a greeting, Albert, will you just put it up there one more time, please?
A lot of people are saying that you should be the Speaker of the House. Mark for Speaker.
No.
Yeah. I'm for Mark. Mark to be the next Speaker of the House.
Maybe. I'm not much into places where you got to wear a tie anymore. I wore a tie. I had all these suits.
They'll change that for you. You can wear your black jacket and your T-shirt. You're good to go.
You saw that they've changed now the rules in Congress. They had relaxed them, but since Fetterman's there now, I'm sure now they're just trying to bust him. So they're so they're crazy. But we'll play again some of these greetings tomorrow. We've got a lot of them coming in.
Hi, Mark, Kim, Albert, and Tony. This is Max the Cat wishing you a happy 1-year anniversary. I've been listening to the show since you started, and I really love your regular guests, Courtney, Avila, Shore, Johnston, Rothman, but especially cats. Get it? By the way, I've been smashing the like button with my iron claw every day, and I really feel I deserve that rod you're always bestowing. Again, happy anniversary, and keep up the good work.
That is nothing short of brilliant.
Yeah.
And that was the second greeting we got in. And I will be bestowing the rod of equity and mercy on everyone who has sent in greetings of any kind. You don't have to send a video greeting. Maybe it's just audio, or maybe it's just a nice note. You can send it again. If you do send audio or video, less than 30 seconds if you can, to happyanniversarymts@gmail.com. And I think it'll be a ramp up to a great celebration on the 12th, but we'll celebrate all week as we've already begun the celebration with you here. Tomorrow, it is David Katz on the gag order on Trump and the rest of the legal machinations that continue. You know, Chesborough and the rest of them, they're all in court as well. What else do we have tomorrow, Kim? This is my favorite part when I ask Kim and she has no idea what was coming.
I guess I need to be prepared for what the question is coming.
Kim, how are you?
Right,
tomorrow on the Mark Thompson Show, it's David Katz is coming on. And that's it. That's all we got.
No, it's the Planet Stupid also.
Yeah, but Belinda's still on vacation.
For the Mark Thompson Show.
All right.
What do you want from me? Too much.
After party.
Bye.
Live.
We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
It's going on now until tomorrow. Bye-bye.